You got an email or a call from a recruiter and they said, great, you made it past them and now you're on to the hiring manager. So, how are you going to structure your conversation with them to get you past them and into this job that you really want? We're going to give you some tips if you just stick around.
If you've watched any of our previous videos, you know that a few months ago, I abruptly lost my job out of the blue. And since then, I have been actively pursuing trying to find my next position.
As Robbie was taking on this new challenge, we thought she can't be alone in this. So, let's maybe put a couple of videos together on people maybe our age or kind of any age trying to go out there and get a job in today's world. So we did one earlier on how to get your resume looking right for today's hiring practices.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did another one on acing the recruiter interview so that you get to this stage that we're going to talk about today. And there are some specific things that you need to do, whether you're just entering the job market for the first time, or if you're like us, a little more seasoned worker and you're looking for a change.
I think the first thing you need to do when you are getting ready for an interview is to be prepared. I know any interviews that I've had, I've taken time to sit down and research the company. If I've had a name of the person that I'm interviewing with, I've looked them up on LinkedIn, or I've tried to find out a little bit of information about them. But just that has helped me in going into the interview to kind of feel like I know a little more about the company and who I am sitting down with.
And if you take some time to research the place where you want to go work, that shows to them that you're actually putting some effort in. Maybe you're not just applying every job willy-nilly, and you're going to take some time to know what they're about, and that will demonstrate to them that you're probably someone that pays attention to detail right off the bat.
I think our second tip would involve the way you present yourself. So, first off, dress professionally, making sure that you show up in a way that presents yourself as confident. Um, and then, along with that, just being confident in your personality and the way that you interact with people. Really, your interview starts the second that you walk through the door. So, whoever greets you, whether it be a receptionist, a secretary, whoever it is, be confident with them, smile, be happy. Anything that gives them a good impression of who you are. And then the other thing I would also add to that is be early. I think that's huge if you can get there ahead of time. And so when the group of people that's interviewing you arrives, or the single person that's interviewing you, you're already there. That speaks volumes to the approach that you're taking to it and how prepared you are for this.
If the interview with the hiring manager is still a virtual one, you have to really treat it kind of the same. You want to make sure that you're dressed professionally, like Robbie said, dress for the job that you want, not necessarily the job you applied for. And in a virtual environment, make sure that you have a place that's quiet. There's no noises. Your phone's not going to go off. The kids aren't going to be yelling in the background. And there's just no distractions. You want to be able to look at the camera the entire time, even if they're not talking to you, right? Even if maybe they're having a little sidebar discussion, you want to be looking at the camera, not looking around at something that's going on in your environment. Now we'll move on to the stage where the interviewer or interviewers are starting to ask you some questions. Doesn't really matter what the question is. What you need to do in today's world is make sure that you're willing to focus on the ways that you're using new or evolving technology to solve age-old problems in your field. Make sure that you're focusing on the ways that you have adapted over time, especially if you're in our age group or a little younger, maybe a little older, where you've seen a lot of changes in technology. Make sure you're highlighting the ways that you've even sought out those changes as ways to make you more efficient in your job.
I think too, it's important to just be cognizant of your body language throughout the whole process. Make sure that you're actively listening. Make sure I saw different little tips about keep your hands like in one place. Don't be like moving around, being distracting, I guess, basically while you're talking with them. So just be cognizant of all of that. I do know that in several of my interviews that I have had, they've used the STAR approach, which initially when one of the gals said that to me, I'm thinking, okay, what is this going to be? So, but eventually I did figure it out. Basically, STAR is just looking at where they give you a situation and then you just respond. The S is situation, T is task, the A is the action that you do, and then the R is the response that you get. So in my field as a nurse, a lot of the interviews I've been in, they have given me situational kind of things and said, okay, hey, this is what's going on. What are you going to do? So in my situation, they were looking to see, hey, do you have critical nurse thinking? Can you prioritize and figure out how to take care of this patient?
But again, it's going to be ways that you've used, that you've adapted and evolved through your career that they're looking for, because they don't want to hear in your interview, well, I've always done it this way.
Right.
Because that just kind of shows that you're not willing to make some changes, or you're not even open to the change that might make your job easier, or again, make you more efficient.
Right.
Usually at some point during the interviewers are going to say, do you have questions for us or for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to think about this as your maybe only chance to interview your prospective employer.
Yeah.
So you want to ask them about things related to the job, like maybe what are the biggest challenges that this role has?
Yeah.
Or what kind of goals should I have in the first 30 to 90 days? Something like that, that shows that you're like eager to jump in and you want to know what lies ahead for you. And also some questions about, why is this job open?
Right. Exactly.
Did the person quit? Did they retire? Is this a new role that maybe they haven't even really defined really well yet?
Right.
Those are all things that, you can ask now, and maybe the answers that they give you make you realize, I'm not really that interested in this position, if that's really what it's all about. Because I think Robbie would tell you, there's many times where the job that's posted is not necessarily the job that you're actually interviewing for.
Correct. Yeah. And another thing I think that you should be able to do is talk to the person that's interviewing you about what their role in the company is. Like, when did they start? How long have they been in that role? Did they start like where you are starting and then progressed through the company over the years? It's always just good to kind of have a baseline knowledge about them as well and what they've done.
And don't be afraid to take notes during this process.
For sure.
I mean, that kind of shows that you're wanting to remember it, so that maybe there's a second kind of interview and you'll have these notes to go back and look at. And it shows them that you're actually engaged in the process if you're thinking about remembering stuff that's been said.
Right.
If you are in a situation like us where it's obvious, let's say, that you may be approaching retirement age, or you're at least closer than maybe some of the other people that would be applying for this job, you need to put examples out there and put yourself out there as an opportunity for them to take the knowledge that you bring and bring it into their company, to all the workers that are there. Whether you're going to be a manager or a supervisor or not, you bring some experience. Whether you stay for 5 years, 15 years, or a year, and then you decide that you're going to retire, you don't want them to miss the opportunity to have you on their team.
At the end of every interview, I do think it's important to show gratitude. Be thankful to who has interviewed you for taking the time to do that. They've given you a chance, an opportunity. So don't be afraid to say thank you to anyone that is there, and just show appreciation for the time that they've spent with you.
For sure. And I think one of the things that Robbie has experienced a lot lately is she goes to these in-person interviews and she feels like it goes really well. Yeah. And in her mind, whether she'd admit it or not, she started to put herself in the job. Right. And she's kind of said, yeah, that went great. I know I'm going to get hired, only a few days later to get the thanks but no thanks letter.
Right.
And it has been a struggle, but I think every time it's happened, it's probably strengthened her resolve a little bit more to like, well, that job wasn't for me.
Well, and I think, again, our faith is a big foundation it is our foundation of who we are. And I just have constantly gone back to, okay, that door closed. That's not the job that God wants me to be in. And something else, he's got a far better plan. Something else is going to come along. Initially, when I first started having the no's, it was a little like, oh, so disheartening. And now I just try and let it roll off my back a little bit and just acknowledge there's something else. It's just not the right position for me.
the right position will come along.
Mhm.
And you just have to be persistent. It's really easy to get discouraged. I mean, I spent well over a year, maybe a year and a half, applying around for jobs before I was offered this job that I'm in right now. And this is probably the last job I'll have.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I'm going to be going out on a good note, but I'm also glad that I got all those no's
Yeah.
in leading up to this yes, so that this is the job I can finish from.
Hopefully, some of this has been helpful to you. I know that as I've been on this journey, um, every time we have talked, Rich and I have talked and looked at different techniques or tips that I can utilize as I have been looking for a job, it's been good for me. So I'm hoping that with us sharing that with you, it's helpful to you.
We'd really like it if you'd like our video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you know when we put out new stuff, and leave us a comment. We'd really like it if maybe you're in this position, like you're looking for work right now, or you're a hiring manager or a recruiter, and we've missed some things that are really critical to getting hired in today's workplaces. Leave a comment for us so that we can share it with the rest of the people that might watch our channel. And yeah, and we would just really like that level of engagement from people. We've enjoyed this little mini series, so to speak, on our channel. I think it's helped Robbie along her journey to finding a new job, and we hope it's helped somebody out there. So thanks for watching, and God bless.